ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another installment of The Wave Show. It's your host, the one and only, with our lovely guest, Amanda. She is a grade school teacher in Toronto, Ontario. Amanda, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. How's your coming in? I know it's snowing.
It's cold, I'm not a fan of the cold, but I made it.
Well, you made it. That's a good thing. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I started out as a child and youth worker.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that for about 10 years. And then one day I just was at school working and I was just like, you know what? I need to do more. So I applied to Teachers College, got in, and now I've been a teacher for the past, going to go on 5 years.
Okay. And where are you from? Did you grow up in Toronto?
No, I actually grew up in Markham.
Okay, town of
So
Markham.
yeah, so it's a different life. Especially where I work. So I've learned a lot and I've grown a lot, but it's interesting. Every day is an adventure.
So during your youth, you grew up in the town of Markham. And how was that coming up in Markham?
It's all right. It was actually a lot more multicultural back in the days than it is now. Like now, we all know what it is. But back then, I had friends that looked like me. I don't know about now, but it wasn't bad. It was good.
Would you say you had a privilege coming up, or would you say you had a rough coming up?
I didn't have a rough coming up. I guess compared to, if I look at the kids that I work with, I definitely am more privileged. But I also ate the corned beef sandwiches, like I had that too, but definitely more privileged than the kids I'm working with, for sure.
Yeah, and like the youth that you're working with right now, what ages are they? I know that...
So I work with grade 4 and 5 right now, so that's like age 9, 10, 11.
And that's as a teacher?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's good. Last year I was with the grade 6s. That was my first year as a permanent teacher. So they definitely, opened my eyes to a lot. So this year is a lot easier, but a lot harder in the same breath,
So in terms of the two groups, what would you say, like, which one would you actually prefer to work with?
Grade 4 or 5 for sure,
Any particular reasons why?
They still want to learn. They still love their teachers. They give you a hard time, but they're able to let it go. The grade 6s, I work in a junior school, so they're on their way out. They're going to middle school. They can care less. They've been there for so long, especially where I am, they're already caught up in the street life. They can't bother. So.
No, it's refreshing to see a young teacher.
Yeah, and a black teacher, right?
Yeah. A young black teacher.
My kids come in, and when I wear my hair like this, they're like, "Miss, you look like me," So it's cute. It's nice.
So like earlier on, you mentioned going to teachers college and stuff like that. What was your first crack at it? Did you always want to become a teacher, or are you?
No, so I started as a child and youth worker, and honestly, I wanted to work with autistic youth. I thought, I was going to be their voice. I was going to be their advocate. But so when I started college as a child and youth worker, they threw me into a behavioral class that had no autistic kids, all behavioral kids, all at-risk youth. And I just kept it there. Like I was like, all right, maybe I can do this. I'm black, they're black, we get along, maybe I can be a voice for them. And that was it the whole time.
So was the group predominantly black youth, or was it like a mix?
It's mixed, where I work right now, it's pretty mixed. There's actually a lot more Middle Eastern than there is black and whites. But I've worked from Aurora to Jane and Finch, right? So I've seen it all, I've worked with it all. So yeah, it's every school that you work in is a learning experience. And even like tomorrow when I go to work, it's going to be completely different than it was today.
Okay.
Right?
So was there anything like that inspired you, like during your teenage years, as when you're coming up to say, okay, I directly want to work with at-risk youth, or?
No, because I wanted to work with mental health. I wanted to work with autism. I didn't think I would even be here. Like I said, I thought I was going to be that voice for those kids that couldn't speak, that were autistic, that couldn't voice themselves. And then after that first time I was in a behavioral class, I was just like, you know what? Let me just stick with this. It's not bad. These kids need a voice too. And there's not a lot of black people in this field. There's not a lot of black people that get jobs, permanent jobs in this field. So let's see how it goes. And I've been here for a very long time.
How was the struggle like in terms of I have a cousin that did the whole teachers college thing, and she went and she taught in I believe it was North Korea. She's teaching English
it's hard to get in
as a second language. What was the struggle for you coming up trying to get in to actually teaching? Like did you have to wait a while, or?
I'm very blessed. Like I got into the board as a supply before I finished teachers college.
Right.
But the experience as a child and youth worker helped me with that. So they saw that I worked with all the at-risk kids and I knew about the education system already. So when I applied to be at the school that I'm at now, a lot of people didn't want to work there. And actually the first question they asked me in the interview is, this community has a lot of gun violence, how are you going to deal with that? And after I got the job, the principal told me, like, a lot of people after that question, they said, you know what, this job isn't for me, and they left.
Right.
So, so that's where I am now. I can't really remember what.
And if, like,
My bad.
from what you remember, no, it's okay, it's all good. Like, from what you remember, the groups that, like, the people that came in and says, you know what, this is not for me. I don't think I can
Oh,
handle
they definitely
this.
weren't black.
They weren't.
They weren't black. They didn't know anything about at-risk kids.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know anything about low socioeconomic status parents. They didn't know anything about welfare system.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they fresh out of teachers college. You know, like, I'm gonna be the best teacher ever and change the world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they didn't know anything about that stuff. So.
That's it's neat to see because honestly, like, even with the gun violence that's going on in the city right now, I know that they just don't start out as adults in terms of, like, you know, pick up badness and gangs and certain things. What would you say the riskiest thing or riskiest situation you've been face to face with? Either it's probably dealing with the parents when the kids come and pick up the parents when they come pick up their kids, or dealing with the at-risk youth in that age category. What would you say the riskiest thing or?
The riskiest, the parents are a little wild sometimes. Like, they'll come in drunk and high and, you know, come to meet with you, and they'll be talking about their life, and you're just like, I don't want to hear it.
Right.
You have kids that come in and say, like, my parents don't feed me, they hit me, and then you, as a teacher, you have to call CAS.
Right.
But when I was supplying in the middle schools, that was probably the worst, because they'll fight right in front of your face. Right? They'll threaten you, they'll talk about they're waiting outside for you by your car.
Wow.
Yeah, they'll have kids that are hitting on you. They want to walk you to your car. They want your number. If you don't have tough skin, it's not for you, like, at all.
And, like, what keeps you strong to keep on going through it? Like, I know after a certain amount of time working with the kids, it's kind of like you feel like, you know, you have a duty.
Yeah. Honestly, it's my team that I work with. Like, the school that I'm at, the staff team is amazing.
Right.
Because, like, yeah, there's some days that I go home and I'm just like, yo, like, forget this, man. Like, I'm not going back. Like, kids spit at me. Like, what the hell? I'm not getting paid enough to be spit at or cursed out. But, you know, those little WhatsApp groups with those other teachers keeps you going, man. Like, they tell you their experiences. They've been doing it for 20 years. They've seen it all. It kind of keeps you going. And then when you go in the next day and you see that kid that spit at you and they just want to hug, or they, Miss, can you help me with this? Or, and they just forgot it all and they just want your help. You're just like, all right, if they can let it go, I can let it go. You know, like, I'm grown. Yes, you spit at me. We have the conversation about it, but then we just move on. Because I know they need people like me. They need the black face. They need the young. You know, there's a lot of older teachers that don't understand where they're coming from. They don't understand their upbringing. So, yeah, they do. They need us.
Like, my heart really goes out to you because, like, when I was younger and I was growing up, I grew up in Scarborough, and I was a part of the East Scarborough Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah.
So, like, I remember that being an outlet for me going there after school. They were, like, you know, let go of a lot of stress and stuff. And it was like a giant orphanage.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at you, and you're young, and you're working in that field. It's like, how when you look at the system itself as an adult, and growing up, you know, in a certain environment, but you saw the nitty gritty or the grits of the streets. Like, how do you position in the ways, like, do you think the system is filled with a lot of these kids, or do you believe that the parents could do more? Whose issue do you really think it is? Think that the system has a lot to do with it, or it's just bad parenting?
It's definitely both. Like, the system tells us teachers what to teach, right? We don't just go in there and get to teach whatever we want to teach. So kids are not writing because the system's saying, teach them how to use computers, right? So there's kids that can't print their name, they can't cursive, any of that, right? So the system is kind of forgetting, you know, the basics, right? They're trying to get them so advanced that they're forgetting the little things. But there's also the parents. Like, the parents, they're not at home, they're working, they have 2-3 jobs. The older sibling that's like 12 years old is raising the younger ones. They're not reading, they spend all their time watching TV or playing games, iPad. So a lot of what is learned during the day is lost at 3:10 when they go home.
And what challenges do you face when you see a lot of things that, you know what, I have to let the higher ups know? Like, when you see, like, you know, when kids come in and they don't have a lunch, or kids come in
I spend a lot of my money on my kids. I buy them lunches, I buy them breakfast sandwiches, I spend to buy them treats and shirts and socks and gloves.
But in terms of the kids that come to the school, though, like, when you see, like, okay, this is the second day in a row Timothy's been wearing,
we buy them stuff.
Wow.
It has to be a long period of time before it's like, okay, this kid, a week, this kid has no lunch, all right, now it's a problem. All right, and then we'll call the parents will make some excuse, all of a sudden the kid will have lunch the next day, a couple days, then there's nothing, right? So You know, teachers make a lot of calls to CAS because we have to, but things will change for a day or two and then they go back to normal. And a lot of times teachers just help the kids, right? How many times am I going to see little Johnny come in with no food before I'm like, and he can't focus. He's sleeping in class because he didn't have breakfast. All right, here, I bought a box of cereal. I bring bowls in. They have breakfast.
Do you often sometimes miss the kids that risk used to eat that risk?
Oh yeah, I do. Sometimes I see them in the grocery stores and they come up and hug me. I have ones that are grown and have kids now. I've seen their kids. Yeah. It's very nice to see it, to ask them where they are now. Like, what are you doing? Some of them went to school, some of them didn't, you know, but it's good to see them alive.
It's definitely a blessing,
yeah.
Right? Because you've seen them on I'm pretty sure there's some kids. How long have you been in the industry? Sorry.
So I became a child and youth worker in 2007. So since then I've been working with kids. And I became a teacher in 2015.
Okay, so it's fairly new for you being a teacher.
Yeah, teaching is new, but child and youth worker I've been doing it forever.
Okay, I know you may not be able to answer any questions pertaining to the strike or anything like that because it is sensitive.
It's just a lot of, it's
a lot of politics.
Yeah, it's a lot of politics. A lot of it is not on the teachers, it's on the union. Teachers don't really have as much say as people think.
And how do you think it's affecting the kids? A lot of kids are happy because
they don't have to go to school. I don't know, but I work in elementary, so they're happy to be at home playing Fortnite. High school, I know like the grade 12s are stressing out because it's their last year, right? So they don't get report cards, there's no interviews, there's no writing references, there's no basketball teams, there's no any of that.
Like, with that being said, what kind of advice would you have for like black parents or just parents in general going through this rough time right now?
Just remember, education is important. Whatever your kid is going to do, like I say, even my kids I have a couple kids that want to be YouTubers, I'm like, you need to know how to count your checks, right? You need to know money. That's education. So you may want to slack off on everything else, but at least take that in. You know, take in whatever you feel is going to be important for you in the long run. For the parents, I say read with your kids. Like the vocab that these kids have is so low because the parents don't read. They don't encourage them to read. They just sit and watch TV. They can't hold conversations. Like, just read with them or just encourage them to read. You know, like,
I find a lot of kids are being raised by the internet. A lot of kids being raised by TV. Like a lot of us were.
Yeah.
But in this generation, it's a little bit different.
It's definitely different. It's definitely different.
When I was young, I know I was grounded. I was sent to my room. There was no internet. There was no Wi-Fi.
Yeah. No iPad.
No iPad. No nothing.
Nothing.
You send a kid to their room now, and
they're
it's like
PlayStation.
they have their own world and their PlayStation or a phone or all kind of different devices.
Yeah. They don't. They once they leave school, sometimes those kids don't pick up a book till they come back to school. Summer vacation, everything they learn is gone by the time they come back in September.
And I'm pretty sure as a teacher and as a parent as well too, you can tell who's been doing their reading.
Oh yeah, you have those kids that come in and they're focused, their homework's done, they're answering questions. You have those kids that come in and sleep in class.
So like I know there's been like a lot of downs in terms of doing it, but I know there's a lot of upsides as well too.
Yeah, honestly, it's hard, it's rough. But I love teaching. Like when you come in the next day and you see your kids, like I was off for a little bit and I came back and my kids came, they run, they hug me, they want to tell me everything I missed. Like those kids come back that are in grade 7 now, they come and visit and they tell you how things are. Oh, Miss, I wish I listened to you. I wish I did my homework. Yeah. It's rewarding, but it's tough. It's very tough.
Like in terms of like the system, I know earlier on I touched about a question on the system and how it's failed. You know, how it may have failed or may not have failed a lot of young kids. I personally believe that it's failed a lot of kids in the sense of the government's made a lot of cutbacks in terms of the different programs that the kids used to have, like with the Boys and Girls Club. I like to make reference to that. There's been a lot of after school programs that's been cut off. Like you do a lot of extras that a lot of teachers don't do. What outlets or what kind of, is there like a place where you can go to as a teacher to say, hey, you know what, this is the amount of stress that I'm dealing with. Can I get some form of counseling if like when you feel broken or you're in a dark place?
We do have very good benefits. I will say that. We have good benefits, but a lot of teachers don't use them. A lot of teachers don't use their sick days because it's more work to be away than it is to be at work. Because if I'm at work, I know what I'm doing with my kids. Okay. If I'm away, I have to write this long 3-page plan to tell the new teacher what we're doing, what we're learning, which kid is allergic to what, which kid is triggered by what. So a lot of teachers, they just come to work sick, they come to work tired. A lot of them take stress leave because, you know, it's too much. But we do have good benefits for those that use it. You know, go get a massage, take a day off. They make life difficult to do that, but...
And how do you personally stay motivated and keep your mind, body, and soul afloat and be spiritually grounded?
It's in no relation to school. I'm a carnival girl. I want to go to carnival. I want to travel. I want to be on a beach. So when I'm not in school, I don't want to be here.
So during those summer months, you definitely take advantage of it.
Oh yeah, I don't want to be here. I don't want to talk about school. I want to, get my release, because even though school finishes at 3:10, I come home and I'm still working. I'm grading papers, I'm making assignments, I'm doing all that stuff. So when summertime hits or Christmas, we need that break. And a lot of people think like, oh, teachers are getting paid to, get 2 months off. But do you realize we're working till 9 o'clock at night for free?
Yeah. So. And you got to get their curriculum ready for the next year.
Yeah, the next year, especially if you're teaching a new grade, you never know what you're going to be teaching. Like last year I taught grade 6, this year I'm teaching grade 4 or 5. You don't have a say.
Wow.
So.
Wow. And on the upside, what are the perks?
The perks, the benefits.
Of being a teacher.
Summer's off. If you get a good class, like my class is tough, but they're fun kids. If I make my lessons fun, I have a good day. Right? So some of those kids, the kids that come back and, they tell you thank you, graduations that you go to for kids that are not your kids anymore, the smiles. It's honestly, it's good. It's good, but it's tough. Like,
so you're really good people. You really actually like teaching.
I love teaching. It's just, it's hard. It's hard, especially for a new teacher. Like teachers that have been doing this for years and that have been in the same grade for years, it's easy. Right? Well, it's easier, right? They're teaching grade 1. They taught grade 1 3 years in a row. All right, I'm going to use the same thing I did 3 years in a row. But going from not teaching anything or not having your own class to teaching grade 6 to teaching grade 4 or 5, it's you're constantly working. You're constantly trying to find the best things for your class. You're constantly trying to figure out what is going to engage my kids, because kids are not into things that I used to be into when I was a kid. Right? You have to make lessons on Fortnite and lessons on anime.
Well, you make it fun, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? So that's what makes it fun, because then the kids are engaged and they're excited to come the next day, right? So.
Like, do you find, like I find with, just with my coming up and just seeing what's going on in the city right now, do you think that a lot of parents that have children enable a lot of the gang activity? And when I mean enable the gang activity, as an example, your child is out there and he's doing his thing. You directly know that he's doing his thing. He doesn't work, he doesn't have a trade, but he's coming in the house with a lot of money.
Right.
There's a parent that will be like, boy, me I go bingo. Baby, I look for $40 for go buy a book. You believe in that sense of enabling?
I can't answer that, because I'm in elementary, right? So a lot of the parents, they're not around, but they do say, send them with work. I don't want my kids on the street. When it's dark, those kids are inside. The little ones are inside. The middle school kids are the ones that are on the street. They're, asking the ones that are in grade 5 to be, watch and make sure no one comes out the house. So my kids, they're not as into it yet as, when they go off to middle school.
So like when their bigger brothers or big older sisters come and pick them up.
So you see it then. Like, you'll have parents come in and say, I don't want my son to be hanging with his brother, so can you give us more math work? I want him to be busy, not on a computer, so can you do this? Can you do that for us? Right? But sometimes you're like, I'm a teacher, you're the mom. I can tell you where to get those resources, but you have to make sure he's doing it. Right? I can only do so much.
So when you see mom come in or dad come in, could you see, okay, mom looks like she's in the life or dad is in the life?
No, a lot of them are just like on the drugs.
They're on it itself.
Yeah.
And
a lot of them are.
And sometimes you can actually see that boiling over into the child's behavior.
So they come to school
tired,
no food. A lot of them come with no food. They haven't eaten breakfast.
Hair looks dry.
Yeah, they come smelling like cigarettes or weed.
Wow.
Yeah, like their papers will be wet. You pick it up, it smells like vodka. Like,
Wow.
Yeah. They'll say like,
serious.
oh, their older sibling, they had egg for breakfast. I'm like, oh, mom made you? No, my older sibling made it for me. It's sad sometimes.
Wow.
Because some of the kids, like, you have a few kids that, like, they don't care. They want to get into that life because their older siblings are in it. But you have those innocent kids that you're just like, I just wish I can help you. Like, I wish I can just show you what a mom is supposed to do, right? Because they don't know.
And I guess sometimes the conflict of interest as well too. When you see some parents come in and you look at the parents and it's like, wow, you're like about my age. We're in that same group. It's like I want to pull you under my wing and kind of bring you up and show you certain things.
Sometimes I'm like, you know what? I'm a teacher. I have to remember I'm a teacher. You're their parent. So if that's how you want to parent them, then who am I to tell you otherwise? Right.
So like in terms of like other educators that are in the school, do they come up to you and kind of brief you on certain students before you get them, or?
We have a lot of families, so like there'll be like 5 kids. So they'll be like from grade 1 to grade 5, or like 3 kids. So a lot of the times the teachers are talking because they'll be like, so did so and so have lunch because this one didn't have lunch,
Right.
or did this one get picked up because they forgot this one, right? So my team is like amazing. Our staff team is amazing.
Right.
Like a lot of them have been there for years. They know the families. They know what's going on. They were there before the school. Like the school's pretty calm now, but they were there when it was wild, when their cars were getting keyed and their tires are getting slashed. Like I'm lucky now.
Wow.
Like they don't spray paint the school anymore.
So it's not like Google reviews when you're looking for like a job and stuff like that. You can put the name of the school in, and like you can get.
I mean, you'll find a lot of like what will pop up is the gun violence.
Mm-hmm.
Like as soon as you type in the school, you'll see gun violence. But the school is usually a safe place.
Mm-hmm.
Like the kids love coming to school. They hate summer vacation. They just want to be. They don't want to go home at the end of the day. They will keep me there. Like, come on, I want to go home. They're like, no, we don't want to go home, because they don't want to have to deal with it. They want to be with their friends. They don't want to be locked up in their room with, whatever's going on downstairs.
Is there a community center nearby the school that works in conjunction with the school?
There is, but it doesn't do anything. It doesn't. I guess it used to, but then there used to be a lot of problems.
Right.
So they took a lot of the programs that were in the school out of the school.
Like
in the community center, out of the community center,
like
because people used to go in there and like steal computers, and they used to go in there and just cause problems.
Mm-hmm.
So now the kids have to travel a little bit to get to do programs. But my school's a model school, so what that means is we get funding for things that other schools wouldn't. So like we have like a basketball programs come in. So basketball program comes in at lunchtime to work with the kids. We have yoga that comes in for like a month and works with the kids. They have subsidized trips, so they get to go. Like 1 year we took the whole school to the movie, shut down a whole cinema, because that's funded by the board. Because that they know parents can't afford to take kids there. Some parents have like 5 kids, they can't afford to take them to Wonderland. Okay, so we're gonna give you passes for Wonderland. They only have to pay $5, or they only have to pay for the bus, right?
So do you find that like subsidy with a lot of programs has changed over the years with the cutbacks in terms of what you guys were able to do for the kids?
We're still pretty good with that. It's the support. Like I am a teacher. I have 27 kids in my class. I'm in there by myself. I have kids that don't speak English.
Right.
I have kids that don't read or write English. I have to talk through Google Translate to speak to students.
Wow.
There's kids that are at a grade 1 level. I teach grade 4, 5. He's learning at a grade 1 level. I have to plan for that. I don't have anyone to help me.
So there's no form of incubation program for kids that have just recently migrated to Canada?
No.
Where they can kind of fuse them?
No, and they're cutting out, so there's a program called homeschool program.
Right.
So those kids that are performing 2 or 3 grades below, they would go to this special class to learn language and English. They're cutting that out.
So how's this going to affect you, like in a few months from now and everything, or a few weeks or a few months from now when everything gets worked out? The classes are going to be much bigger, right?
Yeah, so the classes already have grown. Mm-hmm. They're trying not to shrink them back. So 27, I'm considered lucky, because there's teachers that have 35 kids in the class and they're by themselves, right? So, but the support is needed. They need to pay for more support. Teachers can only do so much, but you're a class that has so many different learning abilities, language barriers. There's only so much that one person can do.
I think your journey really helped you out, because working with at-risk youth and then working with kids, and there's a lot of at-risk kids in your class. I think that that path that God put you on was for reasons. It's like everything is like you're knocking it down in the way that it should have been knocked down. Last but not least, what kind of advice would you give, young black parents or young parents coming up right now to keep their child on the right path, even in that tender age group, grade 4, grade 5, grade 6? What kind of advice would you give them at home to how to deal with their kids when they come home from school?
I think that kids, I know it's hard because parents are working 2, 3 jobs and they have their own lives as well, but making sure kids are reading, right? They need the vocab. They need to understand how to speak to people, making sure they're doing homework. They can't just spend all their time watching TV and playing PlayStation and expect that the school's going to do everything, right? Yes, we do so much, but we also it has to be a team, right? I have to depend on the parent. I have to know that if I call the parent, they're going to be on board with me.
Right.
They're not just going to be like, well, I don't care what they do when they come home, right? So taking time, like an hour a day maybe, but just read with your kid. Ask your kid how the day was. How was school? What did you do today? What did you learn? A lot of kids don't even have conversation with their parents. They come home at 9 o'clock. They kiss them goodnight.
Wow.
Right. So I know it's hard. I'm not gonna say, you know, that it's easy. I know people have to work, but trying at least to be that adult that's there for that kid, that they can talk to, that, you know, if something happened, their kid feels safe and comfortable to go to mom, dad, grandma, whoever it is, to say, this is what happened in school today, or this is what happened on my walk home from school today. You know, this is what I saw happen. Is that okay? Is that safe? So and so touched me today, you know, like, they need to know that certain things are not okay, and they need someone aside from a teacher that they can go to, that they feel safe to talk to.
Wow. And what tip would you give them to keep them out of gang violence, or trying to avoid them from going into that life? What kind of tip would you give them?
I mean,
aside from being your child's best friend, because sometimes that backfires.
That backfires a lot, yeah. Money is tight, but there's a lot of free programs. I mean, you may have to travel for it, but find something to keep them busy. Because it's when they're idle, that's when problems start. That's when they're outside and they see so-and-so and, oh, so you have new shoes? How did you get those new shoes? Oh, I like your glasses. How did you get those? And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I'm going to hang out with this guy because, you know, he has the latest stuff. I don't have to wear the Holy shoes anymore, right? So getting them into programs, after school program, a lot of schools have them. Just throw your kid into that. That keeps them busy for another 2 hours after school.
And for the parents that don't have the funds to do that, is there any kind of...
There's tons of free programs. There's tons of free programs. Go to your community center. There's tons of them. Just look into it. There's subsidy for things, especially if you're in a area where it's low socioeconomic. The school knows. The school has pamphlets to give you.
Right on. And which website could they find this information at?
Oh, I don't know the websites, but like there's tons of stuff.
City of Toronto, I guess?
City of Toronto, but I'm telling you, go into your community center and there'll be pamphlets. If there's no programs, there's definitely pamphlets. And ask the school. The school will know. The school knows what's going on in the community.
That's beautiful. Amanda, it was a pleasure having you today.
Thank you.
Any last words you want to leave anybody?
No, you know, just education matters. Thank you.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our installment for today on The Wave Show. It was great having you.
Want a business in the city? Come to the Wave Show. No time a Big Willie? Come to the Wave Show. You think you got flows? Come to the Wave Show. You think you got jokes? Come to the Wave Show. You got a message for the people? Come to the Wave Show. You could be black, white, red, blue. Come to the Wave Show. It's all love, we wanna meet you. Come to the Wave Show. Come to the Wave Show.